Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's so lovely to have you here. My name is Rachel and I am a knitter and a sewist and a crafter and a mini homesteader and this is my channel where I share all things to do with handmade, homegrown and slow living. If you're new here, welcome. It's very exciting to have you. Today I thought that I would talk a little bit about my plans for this coming year, for 2024. You may have noticed that I'm in a slightly different location. If you've watched my videos before, I thought we would have a go at filming in some different places. I've got lots of new and exciting content coming up this year. Gonna try some new things out, so I hope you enjoy the new style of videos. Yeah, we'll sort of experiment a bit together and see how it goes. But yeah, so I've written it down on a list on my phone so that I don't forget my sort of 2024, but I just want to kind of kick off by saying that the last few years I have set more of a kind of intention rather than like strict resolutions. I know that there's a lot of sort of bad press around New Year's resolutions these days. You know, they put a lot of pressure on people, and obviously there's a lot of issues around like diet culture and all that kind of stuff that seems to come this time of year, and I am totally not about that, but I do personally find it quite helpful to have like a yearly reflection over how the previous year has gone and sort of looking forward and setting some intention and some goals for the year to come. I know some people this time of year is obviously very much a like staying at home, relaxing time, and you know, for some people setting goals and intentions, this just doesn't work as a time of the year to do that. So a lot of people prefer to maybe do it in the spring when it seems like a much better time to be making goals. I actually quite like doing a bit of both. My birthday is in the spring, my birthday's in the middle of April, so I tend to do a bit of a kind of reflection over my birth year and what I want to see in the next year each spring, so I'll probably do that as well, like sort of check in with some of these. But yeah, I basically have, I think I've got 5, yeah, I've got like 5 sort of intentions for the year that I want to take forward, and I thought it would be quite interesting just to share those with you. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so the first one is focused on handmade, homegrown and slow living. So if you follow my Instagram, you may have seen that sort of like my bio. I launched my Substack, the Slow Living Journal, the Slow Nature Journal, which is paid for subscribers. There is a monthly newsletter that's free, but I have weekly articles that are for paid for subscribers in my Substack, which is again the same thing, all to do with handmade, homegrown and slow living. This is very much my focus in life. If you're new, I probably should say I have a chronic illness. I have been living with chronic illness for 5 years now. I am doing better, I'm healing, I'm going through a whole load of treatment and it's working, which is really, really positive. But a huge amount of sort of what helped me get to that place was creating this handmade, homegrown and slow life, completely slowing things down, working with my hands, growing food, getting out into nature, and it's just something that I feel really passionately about, that I really want to share, so I share it a lot within my work. As I say, I've got the Slow Nature Journal, which I share that kind of stuff, my Instagram. Now I'm going to be sharing a bit more about it on my YouTube. A lot of people these days, rather than having like strict New Year's resolutions, will pick a word for the year that they want to kind of not define, but like something to sort of keep coming back to as like a focal point for the year. For me, I've decided just to pick the 3 because this is very much my focal point. Is, as I say, I feel like I've built this sort of handmade, homegrown and slow life, and I just want to be a lot more intentional this year about coming back to that, about that being very much like the center around what I'm doing, and you know, with both work and my personal life. So that's sort of my first one, is really focusing on those 3 things. And then my second one, which kind of goes into that, yeah, the second one is all about being happy where I am now. So I have always wanted, well, not always, but for the last decade, I have been dreaming about buying essentially a homestead, a small holding, something with like 4 or 5 acres, which I could cultivate, grow food for my family, become sort of semi-self-sufficient, run businesses from there, writing retreats and, you know, Airbnbs and all this kind of stuff. It's like it's a big dream that I've had for a really long time. I don't often share about it because people can be quite unkind about dreams and hopes and tell you that it's never going to happen and stuff, and I just personally don't find it helpful. Personally, I find it most helpful to actually just get on and do it and show them. That's what I tend to do. That's what I've done so far. You know, people told me for years that I couldn't be a writer, that wasn't a real job, and guess what? It's my job. So yeah, I think the best thing to do is just to get on with it. But anyway, yeah, my dream has always been to sort of have some acreage to work with, to create a homestead. And we, a few years ago, moved to the countryside, and the only thing we could afford was a small 2-bedroom mid-terraced house with a tiny garden. It's 8 meters by 4 meters. There's hardly any space in it at all. We have to have some space like for the dog. We have to have some lawn space for the dog to be able to like go to the toilet and things like that. But apart from that, we have tried to grow, you know, as much as we possibly can, but that isn't very much. We don't yield very much, but you know, we do what we can. That I don't have a utility, I don't have a pantry, I don't have all of these things that I would love to have to be a bit more self-sufficient, so I could do like canning and preserving and all of these different things. And sometimes it feels like I can't really start that homesteading journey. I can't really like do what I want to do where I am, and that can be quite frustrating. And I think recently I've just realized that actually that's just really not true, that it's really important to accept the stage that you're in now and learn to be grateful for it and learn to be happy where you are. And it's something that I've been really trying to cultivate, rather than always looking towards the future, thinking about what I can do now. So for example, here I can grow some veg. We have 3 raised beds. We can grow vertically up our fences. Where, you know, I'm planning a medicinal herb garden. We have a like flower bed which has fruit trees, espaliered behind it. You know, there's things that we've done. There are things that we can do. We live in the beautiful countryside, where we're very lucky that just outside the door there's walks right into the countryside, and the hedgerows are filled with foraging opportunities. I am able to do things like bake bread, and also things like make curtains, make blinds, make quilts, make all of my own clothes, which I do. And I think that's just really kind of something that I want to focus on this year, is being happy with where I am and like working on what I have here. Because actually, you know, one day hopefully we will get the 4 or 5 acres, and I will really thank myself for sort of learning these skills now and getting them down, because I will have so much to do when I have that space. So if I already know how to make bread or run up some curtains or grow veg for 6 months of the year and medicinal herbs and all this kind of stuff, it means that when we move into the bigger space and I've got lots more to do, I've got hopefully Airbnbs to run and livestock to look after and all that kind of stuff, that will all be a very steep learning curve. So by already having these skills learn and down, actually I'm really helping myself. So that is like a really big focus for me this year, is, you know, what can I do here, what can I do now? And it's also just things as well, like, you know, making quilts and making cushions and things like that, beautiful. I'm, you know, knitting some cushions, and I'm learning to hand quilt and all this kind of stuff. You just take those with you. So in the next house we'll have all these beautiful, you know, handmade quilts and beautiful things that we can put out straight away. When we moved to this home, we actually didn't have very much to fill this home with, because, you know, we came from a rental property, and yes, obviously we had furniture in the rental property, but it was really cheap, like IKEA furniture. It was falling apart, it wasn't the right size or the right shape or whatever. Whereas now we've sort of slowly curated lots of secondhand furniture, which we've upcycled. I'm reupholstering a chair. Like, there's all sorts of stuff that we'll be able to take with us. So the next place that we live in, wherever that is, and I don't think we will be buying that homestead next, I think there'll be like a property in the middle, it will be, you know, filled with all these beautiful things. So I think, yeah, it's a really important thing to like just sort of figure out where I am and really enjoy like mini homesteading and that journey, and I'm hoping to share that with you. It would be really interesting to know what you guys think. Maybe you could leave me a comment or something, but yeah, I'd really like to start sharing more of the homesteading journey. You know, it's all sort of like making our own food from scratch, which we already do all of that, but it's just like maybe taking it to the next level, growing a bit more food if we can, like, as I say, going vertically and that kind of thing. So that's a really big intention for this year. And with that in mind, the next one is that I would really like to learn 12 new skills this year. So I saw somebody on Instagram share something about this, how when they first started homesteading, they used to spend 1 month like learning a particular skill that they really wanted to learn, like sourdough making, for example, and they really focused on that so they didn't become overwhelmed, and they've been doing that for like 3 years now, and it's really worked very well for them. So I thought that that would be quite an interesting thing to try myself, was 12 skills, and I have actually got them written down, so I think I will share those with you. Now, these may change, and there's no like strict like I'm doing this month and I'm doing this month. There are some that are obviously seasonal, like growing certain things, but yeah, they probably will. Some of them may change. It depends sort of how the year goes on and what I need, but I've tried to think of things that I need, skills that I really need in this home. So the 12 skills I've got written down are blind making, hand quilting, crochet, embroidery, sourdough, needle felting, fermenting / pickling, rug making, cordials, growing medicinal herbs and drying them for tea, candle making, and soap making. So those are all things that, like, we need a new rug, we need blinds, we need a quilt, you know, I use soap all the time, so like, you know, these are all things, and candles, I really love candles, so these are all things that I feel are quite helpful. And things like, I'm learning to make beeswax candles. My hope is one day, I'm hoping that the next property that we buy, I will have enough space for a beehive, so, you know, learning how to make candles from beeswax means that when I do have my hive, and I do actually have some wax produced, you know, by my bees, I will know how to make the candles. So it's just things like that that's actually quite useful skills to sort of like put in place. So I'm really excited for that. This month I think I'm gonna start with candle making, because I'm using a lot of candles at the moment. I've bought myself all the stuff that I need to make candles with, and yeah, I'm gonna have a go. I'd really like to have a go at hand dipped candles, because we use tapered candles, and then I've got some little containers that I've been collecting that we like, some of which we had, some of which have been gifted, that had like tea lights in them, and I'm thinking I'll just like fill them up with some wax. I've got some essential oils to make them smell nice. So yeah, I think that's going to be January's skill that I'm going to learn, which I'm quite excited for. But yeah, I feel like that's quite a good focus to have. Maybe next month will be sourdough, because I'm really desperate to start learning how to make sourdough. Any tips that people have, do leave them in the comments below. Okay, so my next intention is to make with my stash. So I don't have, well, in my mind, I don't have a ridiculously huge stash. I don't, like, you know, I've seen things on, like, everything is relative, everybody's personal, like, it's up to you, but I've seen like things on Instagram where people have got like 5 times what I've got, you know, but I do feel like I have got quite a lot. And I'm not gonna lie, it's caused me a little bit of stress and anxiety, because it makes me feel like I need to rush to get like projects finished. I'm like, oh, I've got this, I need to hurry up, And if I buy stuff and bring it in, it actually makes me feel a bit stressed. So I'm really gonna think very carefully about what I'm buying. I'm not like setting a complete ban by any means, because there are gaps in my wardrobe, things that I need to fill. There's also the fact that I work for crafting brands. It's part of my job to actually make up things and share them on blogs and Instagram and YouTube and stuff. So it's not as simple as, you know, just being like, oh, I'm just not going to buy anything. But the reality is I don't need much, so I'm going to be very, very careful about what I'm buying and what I'm doing. And part of that's just genuinely like, I'm not going to go to like some yarn festivals and things like that, because it's tempting basically. And I also think it leaves me, you know, enough money to therefore like really splurge maybe on 1 or 2, you know, cardigan / sweater quantities of yarn. You know, like this I think was like £115 worth of yarn. So like to really splurge doing that like maybe once or twice a year, and I think that that's really good. I've got lots of odds and ends of yarn as well, which would be really good for making like some mittens and some socks and things. So there's quite a lot of small projects, but I've also got a couple of large projects as well. So yeah, I think that this is going to be really good for me. I've also as well, you know, I really want to make the Sweet Shop blanket by Penrose Knits. That's been on my list for ages. I have the pattern already, and we're redecorating the bedroom, and I basically have the perfect colours that came in my Advent yarn box. And then I also have a massive quantity of white to go with that, because you need like white and the, you know, sock yarns. So yeah, I think that's going to be really, really good. There's like quite a lot of projects in my head of things that are going to use up what's in my stash currently, and just being a lot more careful and considered. And when it comes to fabric, it's the same. I've got quite a lot of fabric already, and then there are also things that are like, either I made something up and it doesn't quite fit, or I don't really wear it, or I don't really like it and I need to sort of you know, take it apart and recut something out of the fabric if possible. You know, there's quite a few bits like that, or things that are half finished, and I just never get round to them because my stash is so full. So I just think it would be really, really good for me to spend a bit of time working on what I've already got. And as I say, I've got quite a lot to do for the house. I've got 3 blinds to make. I've got, I think, 3 or 4 cushions to sew. So, you know, there's quite a few like bits to do with everything that I already have. I did last year write down every project that I could think of that was in my stash for sewing, all the fabric that I could think of, even like the remakes and things like that that I needed to do, and it came out as like, it was something ridiculous, like 35 projects. And it was like, I don't tend to finish one thing a week. It tends to take me a couple of weeks to sew a garment, and so actually that was going to do me like the whole year. So yeah, I'm going to be very careful. As I say, I do have like some fabric from work and stuff that I will need to use, and you know, I work with other brands and things like that, so we will see how that goes. But yeah, I just want to be really careful about bringing anything in and try to use up what I've already got. And I also find that really fun. I don't know why, I actually find that really, really fun, sort of like, you know, especially like when it comes to sewing, being like, okay, I've made these dungarees that I'm not wearing, let's open them up and see what else I could make. Or I've got this yarn that I've frogged, like what could I use it for? You know, coming up with small projects is so satisfying to use it up. I've got quite a lot of acrylic yarn as well that I bought years and years and years ago when I was knitting baby cardigans. When I first started learning to knit, I knit quite a few baby cardigans. My friends were like commissioning me to knit them baby cardigans, and so I bought like a whole load of Stylecraft yarn to save myself like money, because the postage was very high. So I bought it in like loads of different colours, and that's just kind of sat in my stash. So I'm hoping to maybe make something for my nephews, maybe some like stripy things or something cute. So yeah, there's all sorts of things that I can be working on this year, so we'll see how that goes. My husband is supposed to be buying me some wool for our anniversary, because it is our 7-year wedding anniversary. It's our wool anniversary, and I've not chosen anything yet, but I think what I might do is just get him to buy, I've got some yarn that I basically bought for a project, started making that project, it didn't really work out, I frogged it, and it's just sat in my stash for ages. It's not quite enough to make the cardigan that I'd like to make, because it was a short sleeve top originally. So like I just need a few extra skeins, so I might just get him to like buy that or something, just like a few extra skeins. And yeah, as I say, just being a bit more mindful and a bit more careful about what I'm buying and what I'm bringing in. I definitely want to focus on natural fibres, and if possible British natural fibres as well. We're very lucky here in the Cotswolds. We've got like alpaca farms and lots of sheep, lots of people producing wool from alpacas and from sheep. And I think we've even got some people producing cashmere from goats around here. So like we are very lucky with our natural fibres, so I can literally buy stuff, you know, that's like almost on the doorstep. So I definitely want to focus on that a bit this year. Oh, I'm glowing a bit. This lighting is definitely interesting down here. My final intention for this year is to nourish my body, which I know sounds a bit like odd, but basically, as I explained earlier in the video, I've been living with chronic illness for over 5 years now, and I am starting to get better, but I feel like this year is just, it's so important to really focus on my body and focus on nourishing my body. And by that, you know, I do mean like mind and body, like mind, spirit, body, the whole thing. So I am focusing on, you know, really eating a whole foods diet, cooking from scratch. As I say, we do cook from scratch, we've always cooked from scratch, but just doing it a bit more. It's things like at the weekend when I fancy a bit of a treat, instead of buying a pizza, actually we make a pizza from scratch, and it's so much better for you. Things like at the weekend, we have traditionally gone to our local bakery and bought a loaf of bread, like a loaf of sourdough. They do really lovely sourdough. I would really like to learn to make that myself, and then I know exactly what's going into it, and you know, just all sorts of different things like that. So I'm really going to focus on that. Also growing my own food as well. We already get an organic farm box, that's how we do our food shop, so you know, I feel positively about that, but I would like to grow some more of our food, especially like herbs and medicinal herbs. That's something I'd really like to learn about and get into, is medicinal herbs and how they can help. And I'd like to grow a medicinal garden this year. And then I think things as well, like more time outside, more time in nature, which obviously growing my own food, that just kind of happens. I walk the dog every day. And pre to being ill, I used to work out 4 times a week before I was ill. I really enjoyed exercise. That was something that was a huge part of my life. It was huge help with my mental health. And unfortunately, when I became ill, I wasn't able to exercise anymore. I couldn't even walk for the first, just over a year it was that I couldn't even walk really. And even when I first started walking with Pearl, she helped me learn to walk again. It was like, you know, 5-10 minutes around the cul-de-sac. It was absolutely nothing. And now, like, we still don't do very much. So yeah, it's been a really hard journey sort of losing that mobility, but I am feeling a little bit better, and I'm feeling like my energy is improving, and I would like to this year, hopefully in the next few months, start yoga, which is something that I used to practice very regularly pre-illness, and I really miss it. I find it very, very helpful, and I'm hoping to eventually like build up to being able to do like yoga, Pilates and swimming, which are obviously all quite gentle exercises, but at the moment things like Pilates and swimming I'm not well enough to do. So yeah, we're going to start with the yoga and see how that goes. Unfortunately, I have a condition at the moment called costochondritis, which is basically an inflammation of the cartilage. Oh, sorry, that's getting really blown out because the sun's like coming in and out of the clouds. Yeah, it's an inflammation of the cartilage in between the ribs. It's because I had a really nasty virus before Christmas and my body's still healing from that. So unfortunately, for a few more weeks, I'm not going to be able to do any yoga, possibly another month, which is really frustrating because I was really looking forward to starting that this year. I was hoping to start it in like January, because I feel like it's so good to like move your body when you're like tired and sluggish and it's dark outside. But anyway, it's an intention for the year, so it will happen at some point this year. Hopefully by the end of February, I'm hoping to be able to start doing some gentle yoga. So yeah, that is sort of all of my intentions. I feel like there's so much more I could go into with them, but I'm not going to. because I'm going to be sharing a lot of this year. I want to start doing more vlogs. As I say, my channel is going to very much focus on handmade, homegrown and slow living rather than just on like things that I'm making, and I hope that you guys will really enjoy that. I hope you really enjoy the new styles of video that I'm going to have a go at and put out. Yeah, it'd be really nice to hear what you guys think as those start to get published. And yeah, if you would like to support my work, if you'd like to support my content creation on here or Instagram or both, if you enjoy watching me, one way that you can do that is subscribe to my Substack. It's a really great way of supporting me and helping me to continue like making these videos and things. It's £5 a month, less than a coffee and cake, and you get a really interesting article weekly into your inbox, which is all about handmade, homegrown and slow living. If that's something that you'd be really interested in this year, then do check it out in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope that you're all having a lovely January, and I hope you're all excited for 2024, because I am, and I'm excited for all of the different things that are coming and all of the things I'm going to be able to share on this channel. Thanks so much for being here, and I will see you next time. Bye.